started the stream. Now I have to check if it's actually running. Yes, it started as well. So I guess then let's start with a new reaction video, or new reaction stream. I have Tekken Dog again with me, and I found a nice video where somebody, oh yeah, you can say hi or whatever you want to as an introduction.
Hello.
Hello. You're not new here. You're the oldest co-host of this channel.
Same old me.
Yes. I found this guy here. He is, I think he gives a very clean definition of what the left thinks that fascism is. And so I thought, why not make a reaction video to his definition? I already wrote everything in the comment below his video. It got 1 like and no reply, so I assume it is a solid comment because nobody had any complaints about it. I think that's how the internet works. So now I will do it in video format as well. So yeah, and if you have any thoughts, then just tell me to stop the video, and or else I may stop it in between, just so it is a reaction stream and not just let's watch this guy talk for 14 minutes stream.
We have faced a threat that we have never fully defeated. It has toppled democracies. It has consumed nations. We have fought it. We have destroyed entire countries to overthrow it. We have buried millions because of it. And yet, it keeps returning. That threat is called fascism.
Ooh. Scary.
Does he know that? Well, first off, the Nazis didn't ever call themselves fascists. That was strictly an Italian Mussolini thing, and Mussolini and Hitler and the Nazis were elected democratically by his precious democracy.
He has a posh brush on his shirt. At least it looks like this, so I assume he knows everything. He looks very smart and educated, so probably he does. I don't know. Yeah.
But we face a fatal issue when it comes to combating fascism. Because even though you know it when you see it, you can smell it, you can feel it, no one seems to know exactly what fascism is.
But just to comment to your question, I think he is aware, and his definition, his statement would be, or his response would be, fascism isn't a political structure; it is a behavior, or an idea, like a pattern of thinking and behavior. And so even democracies can turn into fascism. So anything can be fascist. And I'm also not sure if he's in favor of democracy. So I don't know his opinions well enough to know if he's in favor of democracy or if he thinks that the communist revolution with just a single party that just tells everybody what to do. Perhaps he's in favor of that. I have no clue about him. So, but yeah, the general layman's opinion, they may think that democracy cannot do anything wrong or whatever. I don't know. He's probably not one of them. But yeah.
Not a list of features or descriptions. The precise operational definition. What it is, how it works, why it works, and what it is trying to do. That is what I am going to give you today. The first thing to understand: this confusion around what fascism actually is not an accident. It is intentional. Fascism does not want you to understand it. The contradictions, the shifting reality, the denials, the inconsistency, these are intentional features of the system of lies fascism uses to obscure itself from you.
Here I think it sounds very much like he personalizes fascism, and I don't think he believes that ideas and concepts have a will of their own. And since he personalizes it and gives it deliberate agency, it must mean that he thinks there are people who are knowingly fascists, who knowingly want to implement these features in society, and then they deceive people into gaining power and implementing that. So I don't know if that is his opinion. It's possible that he thinks that. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out that he assigns a lot of agency to this concept called fascism.
We will go through this, but for now, just know, one of fascism's strongest defenses is that it is hidden, undefined, misunderstood, downplayed. Because if you don't know what a disease actually is, it's very difficult to treat it. And with fascism, that is on purpose. So, the definition. Fascism is an ideology. That means it is a mental operating system that programs its followers, fascists, to see the world and react to it in a certain way, according to the system they've been taught. The same situation, the same process, different situations, same process. Fascism is simple and highly predictable. Here it is. Every fascist movement rests on the same central premise. You are great, but greatness was stolen from you by some malicious force. And to get back to what is rightfully yours, we must remove or destroy the enemy that took it from you.
So I will quickly write this down because it's very clear. Here are all my thoughts. But just so so we are very clear that we use his definition. Fascism is an ideology. Fascism says you are, what did he say? Good or great? Great. Fascism says what something. Let's track it back to be sure.
By some malicious rests. Same process. Fascism is simple and highly predictable. Here it is. Every fascist movement rests on the same central premise. You are great, but
let's use precisely his words. You are great.
Greatness was stolen from you.
Greatness was stolen from you. Then
by some malicious force.
It was stolen from you by some. Is that malicious? Did I write it correctly? Malicious?
I don't know.
Is there not S? I think there is an S in there. I'm not sure. I have the excuse of being Swiss. I don't. English is my second language. Technically my third, but my second I forgot. So now it's switched. It moved into second place.
And to get back to what is rightfully yours, we must remove or destroy the enemy that took it from you.
To take back greatness, we must
By some malicious force. And to get back to what is rightfully yours,
to get back what is rightfully. Oh, that's a L too much. Yours.
we must remove or destroy the enemy that
Yours. We must remove or destroy the enemy. What did I? We must. The enemy.
took it from you.
We took it from it. Yo. That is not necessary.
They are all that stands in the way.
Yeah.
And then, when they're gone, you will finally have your rightful greatness.
When they are gone, finally have your. So.
One loop, repeating endlessly. You are great. You were wronged. Give me power, and I will destroy the enemy who robbed you. And then, when we've defeated them, you will finally have your entitled greatness.
And also, somebody says, give me power, and defend me to back for you. So.
A perpetual motion machine of grievance, enemies, and revenge. And now, the core fascist lie. Fascism is not about greatness. That is only its pretext. That is the lie. Fascism is about harming the enemies it blames.
So, just so every point is clearly written down. Is not about greatness. It is about what did he say? Harming the enemy.
Grievance, enemy, revenge. Repeat. It does not spend its time on creation or progress. It spends its time on anger, enemies, punishment, grievance, enemy, revenge. Repeat. There is no plan for greatness. Fascism does not build. Things will not get better. The plan is just more harm, more power, more violence, more corruption.
I mean, sometimes there is a force that keeps everybody down, and if you remove them and if you believe in the populace that they are capable of building up, then all you have to do is remove this oppressor, and then give power and give liberation to the people, so they can build up. So yeah, but perhaps that's already me being a fascist, I guess. Yeah.
And this is why fascism is violent. Always violent. Because it is inherently violent. The system demands violence. Things never get better. So fascism must continually invent new enemies and manufacture new crises to stay relevant. Constantly show the movement is still necessary. And because the greatness never comes, the fascist regime must show it is working, and so it must do violence to these enemies. Do you see the system yet?
I just took a sip of aromated water. It said, he said, wait.
But must do the fascist regime must show it is working, and so it must do violence to these enemies. Do you see the system?
So, it shows that, shows that it is working, not by the greatness, but by showing to the enemy. So,
Yet. The violence, the grievance, the harm, that is fascism's legitimacy. That is its purpose. Harm is the only thing fascism can consistently deliver. Not progress, punishment. And so fascism must lie, always lie. Destroy shared truth, destroy shared reality, destroy shared facts. Because if it is seen for what it is, it knows it will die. So it must hide from you that there is no plan, distort reality and truth until nothing can be known at all. Because
I think he does one thing very good. He shows how everything is a loop, so he repeats everything multiple times. I mean, it's very dramatic. But yeah.
It is quite dramatic.
Yeah.
fascism knows it cannot
It's almost as if he's painting an enemy picture that needs to be destroyed. Oh, spoiler of my critique.
deliver. The promised greatness was a lie. Fascism only speaks revenge and power, and so to hide this from their followers and from you, they lie, constantly lie, shamelessly distract, endlessly avoid. To keep people from realizing the movement itself was a lie all along. They will never admit wrong, even when it is proven. They will never admit truth, even when it is right before our very eyes. Truth
Dun, dun, dun.
is not a value.
Yes. I think people are very quick to throw words around like, see, I have proven it, and it's right before your eyes. I mean, sometimes it's, yeah, I mean, I do it, do I say I have proven that this is the case? I don't think I say these words.
I don't think so.
I just say, this is my logic, like here, these are the assumptions, and then this would be logically consistent, like that. At least that's what I'm trying to do. And yeah, but I guess I'm also more epistemology guy, like who focuses on methodologies and less on facts itself. So yeah. Yeah, I guess.
I'm just glad he's got the title up there so I remember what he's talking about, because if he didn't have that up there, I'd start forgetting and thinking he's talking about BLM or
Yeah, communism, it sounds.
communists or something.
Yeah. I mean, they are fascism according to his definition, but yeah.
In fascism, truth is a weapon in fascism, a tool they use only to enable and obscure their crimes. Fascists always lie, because fascism itself is a lie. Fascism is a system of lies. So why does it come about? Why would anyone choose this?
Oh, I was wrong. It was not a posh broche. It was a chain with a necklace with a big thing on there. But yeah.
Firstly, fascism does not arise in healthy societies. Like many diseases, it requires a
I disagree. I think you just have to have some discomfort, sorry, and then you have to have an emotional speaker, and then they can make. I mean, a lot of revolutionaries are nepo babies. So what else can you give them? They have everything besides a purpose in life. So I don't think unless you say if a society has everything, then they are not a healthy society. I mean, that's possible. Or what do you think? Do you agree with this statement of his?
No.
Yeah, I know that you disagree with most of his conclusions, but I mean, and his worldview, but I mean, do you agree with the specific statement that fascism can't come from a healthy society?
What definition of fascism are we operating on? On his? Then I guess, because I mean, our society was relatively healthy, but then we got, all of the people claiming victimhood status, and
Yeah.
this is according to his whole tirade here, his dramatic tirade. Everything's fascist. Bernie Sanders is a fascist. Every politician runs for office is a fascist because they're always telling you that, oh, well, this could be great. This could be better. I'll make things better. I'll get the millionaires and the billionaires. And they're the ones holding you down. The white man is holding you down. They're the aggressors and you're the victim.
It's not just every politician, it's every media person, it's every HR manager, it's every person. No, not every person. Like there are people in positions of influence that are not like this, but a lot of them are in all levels of society, and sometimes even in friend groups. Can I organize this meeting, or can I organize this gathering among friends? I want to achieve this, and this is in the way, and we have to. And that's already fascism, according to him, at least according to his definition. Because then you are forcibly removing something. Did he say violent or forcefully? I think he said forcefully. So yeah.
compromised system in order to take root. It is very important to understand. Initially, fascism is powered by legitimate grievance. Typically, when a people are betrayed or humiliated by their system and their leaders. The robbing.
There is people can have grievances without being betrayed. I mean, there is the joke going around. A wife wakes up next to her husband, and then she hits him, and then he says, "What did I do?" And then, "You cheated on me." And then he said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Yeah, in my dream you did." And I mean, you can have grievances without stuff happening to you. And the thing which I hear, which is less of a joke and more sad, is like there are women who have divorced friends, and then these divorced friends tell the women, "You should divorce your husband because he is enslaving you." And then this woman starts looking at, "Oh, I am enslaved," and then she divorces, but it was like an induced grievance. It was not a real one, and so. Yeah, I think he is too simple in this aspect. But yeah, definitions often simplify reality, so I hope he has a more nuanced take in general, and this was just for the purpose of condensing it down I hope.
Of people by their politicians, the wealthy, the powerful, failed wars based on lies and done for profit, financial crises when a government saves the criminal elite at the expense of the people they had just victimized, moral collapse, erosion of trust, degradation of financial and material conditions, initially legitimate grievance.
So does he just claim whenever somebody takes power and says, I take power to remove this evil, then it necessarily turns everything poor and bad? Did he just claim that?
I don't know.
I think so.
Erosion
for a
of
second
trust,
he was talking about.
degradation.
Wait, what did you say?
I thought for a second there he was starting to talk about central banks and fiat currency.
Why? Because they destroy everything.
Because it makes everyone poorer and degrades society. And
Yeah. I think that's even if it's valid, it's still it's a different topic. So I don't think if he tries to condense everything to one simple concept, then he probably won't jump around into different topics where it also applies. So, yeah. So I don't think he would go to this topic even if he holds that view as well.
Of financial and material conditions, initially legitimate grievance. And then comes the dictator, who takes this grievance and anger and redirects it, preys upon existing prejudices and divisions, and gives a simple answer. This was done to you.
This reminds me of something I recently heard. Namely, I think one of the early theologians in Christianity, he said, there is a political cycle, and it's essentially, for example, there is a ruling class at the nobles, and then they get more and more influence and more stifling until nobody is able to do anything, and then the people revolt, and then they destroy the population, no, the nobility, and then there is essentially mob rule or anarchy or whatever. And then because people cannot live long in without the government, then suddenly a motivational speaker comes along and says, see, I will create this beautiful country, and then he turns into a king, and then he sets up a system, and for that he needs people who can manage it, and then he creates the nobility, and then the nobility gets stronger and stronger and strangulates, like or the king. I mean, in restricting his movement to the point that he's irrelevant, and then there is a big nobility that starts to grow more and more until it essentially makes the whole starves the whole country, and then the people revolt again. So yeah, there are various. I don't know if this opinion holds any truth. With that I mean if this opinion of this theologian, if this has ever been observed in this way. But yeah, his cycle that he proposes reminded me of that one.
by your enemy, and it's their fault. You are great, but you were wronged. So give me power, and I will do harm to the enemy that robbed you. And when they are gone, you will finally have your greatness. Fascism is not a conservative ideology. It is a revolutionary ideology.
So
It
communist.
appeals to conservatives by exploiting legitimate values like patriotism, strength, nation, heritage, but it seeks to overthrow and replace, not conserve. And just like any good lie needs to contain some truth, the fascist ideology needs to prey upon the legitimate values and impulses in the victims it turns into perpetrators. But it does not care about these values. It just uses them to say we must destroy. And when the destruction is over, you can have them back.
I'm curious if he is. I can imagine that there are political leaders who see there is a certain desire here, and then they want to have power, and then they want, and they only role play caring for the need of the people. I think Andrew Tate is a nice example for that. I think he found a very a need of many young men, and then he plays the hero of these people, but he doesn't care about them at all. I think so because he made statements along these lines, that he is that scamming people is a great thing and stuff like this. So I'm pretty sure he's one of these people. But there are also leaders who actually care about it, and they actually desire to remove an obstacle that causes grievances to people, and he desires to remove that, and then possibly give it back. I don't know, but so how does this guy here, this how is he called again? Anthony. How does Anthony? How does he differentiate between a fascist dictator and essentially the moral equivalent? I'm curious how he differentiates between the two, because as of now, it looks like he only thinks whenever somebody promises to remove an obstacle, it's always malicious in its motive, and always a lying person who doesn't care. And perhaps he believes that it's always necessarily malicious, but I'm curious what his opinion is on this.
In fascism, law and democracy are not the protectors of our common values. In fascism, law and democracy are what is standing in the way. And so now...
So let's import a lot of voters so that the current population is invalidated, and let's remove all voter IDs so anybody can go vote, and multiple times, so everybody who is law abiding will only have one vote, while the newcomers have multiple votes. Yeah. But
wasn't democracy in the way when Trump was elected?
yes, it's always our democracy is in danger because some person is democratically elected. That's in Germany. It happens as well. They wanted to remove the AfD because it was anti-democratic. So let's ban all parties that are anti-democratic.
Because people might democratically vote for them.
Yes. I'm glad you saw it. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand that you don't want to have certain tyrants. There are some very infectious ideologies that are dangerous, but sometimes they are dangerous because you suppress them. I mean, how is this? I forgot how this pot is called in English. Dampfkochtopf. Oh, I forgot. I've never looked it up. A pressure cooker. Oh yeah, I knew the word of pressure cooker. The pressure cooker is very dangerous if you don't have a valve on top of it. It can explode and destroy your whole kitchen and you along with it if you are in there. But if you put a valve on top of it, then it's suddenly not dangerous anymore. So, or at least not as dangerous. It can still be dangerous if you handle it wrongly. But I think a lot of extremist ideologies are in that way. And if you build a firewall like Germany wanted to do with the AfD, or is still trying to do, then you essentially say, look, this party, this can promise everything it wants, and it will never have to prove itself. And so they won't be able to show who they really are. And by the way, we oppress everybody who is slightly in favor of them. And that automatically gives them essentially mythological status, and they will automatically grow. And especially if you oppress a large population alongside of it and suppress their way of opinion, but you do so incompletely, so they can still gather and talk about it. It's just they have to do so underground. So it's a very stupid approach. It's a very self-destructing approach that causes the danger in itself. But yeah, it's
Just because you ban people or don't let people share certain opinions, that they don't go away. Those people still have the opinions, and then they just congregate and it grows.
it's sometimes it's possible. I think of, for example, China during Corona. They had districts where, like, there were cities, and certain districts were completely locked in. The people couldn't leave for 2 weeks, and in the same city, in the district right next to it, they didn't even notice that this was happening. So China, like, if you have a good enough control over information flow, a complete enough control, then it's possible. And also, one advantage that China has is they are much more collectivist in their thinking, like due to Confucianism. Their behavior is also much more authority believing. So sometimes it's possible, and sometimes it's possible for a while, but sometimes it's also the worst thing you can do. You just essentially, there is a short I once saw. Do I find this short within a few seconds? Short, if you kill two. Is it? Yeah, this Math of War.
Let's say you have 10 insurgents. Huh? Now let's say you kill 2 of them. How many insurgents do you have left? Well, you'd say 8, of course. 8, right? Wrong. In this scenario, 10 minus 2 equals 20. Let's say the 2 insurgents you just killed each had 6 friends or brothers or some such who are hovering on the brink of joining the insurgency. They're thinking about this insurgency thing. Looks interesting, but for one reason or other, not for me. But then you go and kill their friend. Now you just made up their minds for them. Those hovering friends are now full, paid-up members of the enemy. And so, in the math of counterinsurgency, 10 minus 2, let's say...
Yeah. This also applies to politics. Not always. If you have certain situations, then that's not true. For example, in Orthodox Christianity in Islamic regions where Islamic countries are the rulers, they also don't rise up despite a lot of discrimination, and they don't do that across hundreds of years. So it's sometimes this math is correct, which this guy in this short just showed, and sometimes it isn't. But yeah, that's a lot of complexity, which doesn't fit into this guy's simple model. Yeah, but I'm not opposed to simple concepts. I think sometimes it's important to just simplify everything down, and I think he did so very well. And I also think that despite the problems of the model he shows, it's probably underlying a lot of how many leftist people think about fascism. I think he did a very good job of defining how leftist people view fascism. That's why I picked this video to react to, because it's actually voicing opinion that is out there and that is pretty popular. So yeah, of course, I think it's way oversimplified and has many flaws in it. So I don't just picked it because I thought, yeah, it's easy. It's a low-hanging fruit that is easy to make fun of. I think it's a well-done video of popular opinion. But yeah.
Now that we understand fascism in fact
Wait, where did we left off after? So.
and democracy are not the protectors of our common values. In fascism, law and democracy are what is standing in the way.
Yeah.
And so now that we understand fascism, how do we understand its followers? Our family, our friends, our neighbors, the people who first become its victims and then become its perpetrators, the people who we watch support, follow, and defend anything. And the worse the fascist movement becomes, the more we watch them disconnect from truth and their own morality, humanity.
And suddenly they paint every other person in a very dramatic way as an enemy.
In a corrupted system, when fascism comes along, it is often the only thing that speaks to its followers' real pain. And so it becomes their source of truth.
Andrew Tate. I once heard the statement that Andrew Tate, the reason... Oh, yeah, I know exactly who said it. I can highly recommend Effective Purpose, this guy. When it comes to red pill dating and all these topics, this guy watched the same content as me and drew the same conclusions as me, but he makes better videos than me. So whenever anybody is interested in dating or red pill, I can highly recommend this guy, and I support everything he says. Of course, nuances and stuff, but I mean about as everything as one can get in such a topic. And what he said is, why are there people who defend Andrew Tate despite his not just controversial takes, but sometimes pretty malicious takes? And the reason is, let's say you're a young man and you're suffering. The whole society told you that you are evil and bad and every problem is because of you. Despite you just being in school, you have no influence over anything at all. But everybody says, yeah, you are the problem. And then you're such a young guy, and then you go on the internet, and then you see Andrew Tate, and he says, you are not the problem, actually, and here is how you can get strong. And then you view this person Like that's the only person who sticks to you when you're down. And then when you see that this one person, and let's assume later you grow up and then you're in a better place, and then somebody comes along and says, yeah, this guy Andrew Tate, this was a bad guy, and then you think, when I was down, Andrew Tate was sticking for me and you were not. And therefore, you are a hypocrite for criticizing the only guy who cared for me. And so this is essentially how people can grow loyal to people who show loyalty when you're down. And even though, and then if you take somebody like Andrew Tate, and then he says how you apply the lover boy method to get to manipulate women to work for you in sex work and stuff like this, then you say, yeah, it can't be bad, and that's probably just a joke or a statement he made or whatever. And so just because, yeah, that's. How did I got reminded of this?
When fascism comes along, it is often the only thing that speaks to its followers' real pain.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought of this. The effective purpose guy has said pretty much the same thing. Sometimes there is a grievance around and only one person listens to you, and everybody else not only ignores you but also pushes you down. And then AFD shows up, or Trump shows up, or Andrew Tate shows up and says, look, you are not the problem. And then, if you then aggressively attack this guy, then you just show that you don't care. So I agree with him, with what he says. I just do it from... I'm not even sure if I do it from a different angle. I think I just agree with his statement.
And so it becomes their source of truth, which it exploits. And then it gives them purpose. And then it tells them what is good. And then it tells them what is evil.
Here I would say yes to a point. And sometimes it's just, I know that... let's say, for example, Trump bombing Iran, and then, let's take a more controversial one. Trump, for me, logically speaking, a more controversial one. I think with Trump bombing Iran, there are very obvious reasons why he would do this, which people can agree with, because I mean, nobody says the Iranian dictatorship is something good, except the few terror supporters out there. Of course, now that Trump attacks Iran, people suddenly changed their opinion and said that, oh, Iran, it's a proper government, you cannot just attack it. But before that, nobody said, yeah, pro-Iranian government. But yeah. The one which I think it's more difficult to defend is, for example, Greenland. How Trump said, yeah, I want to have Greenland. And the case of, let's take this example which I brought from Effective Purpose, not this guy here, not this Anthony. There, it is not necessary that a certain Trump supporter may think, hey, it's great that Trump wants Greenland. We needed that anyways. It's more like, I don't understand why he would do that, and I don't really need it. I don't think we need it. I think it's probably even a bad thing that he does this. But so far, whenever he did something, he stood up for me, and so I will trust him in this case. And even if it was a bad choice and he shouldn't have done it, one misstep for somebody who was always loyal to me is acceptable. I think that's the more... He ignores that this can happen too. Sometimes you don't have to be a firm believer in whatever they say, and you have to always... always believe exactly the same thing. Of course, this exists too. These people exist, but there is also the other principle that effective purpose talked about. Yeah, and then there are also people like you who say Trump did. Trump is the worst, is perhaps the better of two evils, but I don't want to vote for evil anyway. It's better to have no government at all. Those people exist as well.
I'm here.
Yes, I know. You're paying attention. Yeah.
And then it destroys all external sources of meaning or truth. Everything is a lie. All information is fake. All experts are corrupt.
Here I want to say something which I noticed in myself. Sometimes it's you live in a comfortable situation, and then you hold luxury beliefs. Like, for example, I'm against all wars. And then a person who is in power does an act of war. For example, let's take the example of Trump killing dictators without the approval of Congress. And then he does that, and then at first, like the first reaction is, why shouldn't he? I mean, the dictators are pretty bad people, and if it's just one rocket, or if it's like a bit of intel gathering plus a few planes and a rocket, why shouldn't he do that? And then you start noticing that your previous comfortable position, which allowed you to have luxury beliefs that only work if everything runs perfect, that you didn't actually hold them, you just held these beliefs because society around you held these beliefs. And then when somebody else does an action, then you can start taking a step back and see this one which society told me all my life is not necessarily the only view which I've thought previously. So perhaps I'd have to think about it again and see what is a more realistic set of morals. So that is also a possibility. It's not just you don't have to agree with what he says says or does in the end, but he may just shake a bit in the moral foundation which society indoctrinates you into, and that can also cause you to think and consider new perspectives. So people can adjust their beliefs even when their leader does something, and they cannot just copy it. They can also change their belief if they don't copy it. It's more like they are inspired to rethink an issue which they previously thought it was settled. And so yeah, that's also a possibility. It doesn't always have to be like this stupid dogmatic believer that does what a believer. I don't mean Christian believer. I mean believer in whatever ideology they hold to. So it doesn't always have to be brainwashing. It can also be open-mindedness. So just wanted to point that out. And do you have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, but not not relevant to the current conversation.
Okay. Yeah. I guess then we can talk about it after the stream if you want.
Fascism uses the power it gains over its followers' sense of reality to intentionally place them in a hell of anger, victimization, conspiracy, and fear.
Who is constantly angry, victim, and fearful?
Black people. Oh, sorry.
I thought of Greta Thunberg. Like the climate activists who suddenly thought, oh no, climate is irrelevant. Now it's Palestina. Oh, now Palestina is irrelevant. Now it's Iran. Oh, now it's I support the current thing. Yeah, I thought of these, but of course they exist on all sides. I mean, it's the politicians want to gain, or some people want to gain influence over others, and an easy way to do that is through emotions. And some people are very easily manipulatable through emotions, and that is not.
Wait, repeal the 19th Amendment.
Yeah, let's do that. That's the obvious conclusion. And every man that is on the female side of the bell curve as well.
The world is just an evil web of shifting conspiracies, shadowy puppeteers behind the scenes, dark forces.
I'd like to point back to the very beginning where I said, did he just impersonate it? Did he just turn fascism into a person with agency? So he talks about fascism as if it is shadowing puppeteers that control society. Yeah, loops upon loops upon loops in this video, some which he intended and some which he didn't.
Is impeding the promised progress, enemies lurking behind every corner, plotting against you. Only the
Yeah, for example, your friends and family members who suddenly fall for fascism, those enemies are everywhere.
Vote for
Leader
Trump, and then you shouldn't go to Thanksgiving dinner with him anymore.
Yes, that they are so evil. You have to. I have no clue. Sorry, over here in Switzerland is slightly better than in America. So, and I'm luckily among people who never like we can have different ideas, different political beliefs, different religious beliefs, and we can talk about each other across border. So there, that is pretty. Yeah. It's comparably speaking, it's heaven on earth. But what I thought about, I just watched with, is it the ARC podcast? Podcast. Yeah, it's this guy, Archcast. Yeah, the alt-right playbook. And there they said, I think that he did a review of it, and it was the alt-right playbook was done 8 years before or something, if I remember him correctly. And he wanted to see how much, oh yeah, here 8 years, and he wanted to see how much has come into reality. And one aspect in this playbook is you do not talk with them because all they do is lie, and if you talk to them, then you allow them, you give their voice access to your audience, and so that's bad. Therefore, we should just remove them from all platforms. I found this slide the most. Where is it? This is so. Where is it? Oh yeah, here. This
performative self-flagellation.
It's so hypocritical. It's funny.
Police as terrorists and beat and.
So here, effective ways to combat the alt-right: kick them off social media, shut down their website, cut off their funding, police their organizations as hate groups, be willing to check someone as at a counter-protest if it will prevent greater violence. That's his proposal for effective ways to combat the alt-right. What they do to us: falsely report our tweets as hate speech, DDoS our websites, try to shut down our Patreons, report us to the police as terrorists, beat and murder people in the streets. So essentially they say we should do all of this, and when they do this to us, then it is bad. And this guy honestly wrote that and thought it looked good. That was such a funny slide. Yeah,
He must have tutored this guy we're watching.
yeah. No, this guy, I think it's pretty obvious where he is coming from, which angle. But as of now, he is stating everything in a very neutral position. Theoretically, he could be a conservative Trump supporter and talking about Bernie Sanders. Theoretically, that's possible.
Mhm.
But yeah.
He could be a white nationalist talking about BLM. He could
Yes.
be a Muslim talking about Jews. He
Yes.
could be a Jew talking about Muslims.
Yes. We don't know yet because he. But that's what I like about this video, because he really put an effort into simplifying the concept to a very general and fundamental level. So I think that he did this very well. So it's just that the issue is, and I also think that he actually found the underlying thinking of many people of what fascism is. I think he did that very well. I just think this underlying principle which he found is just illogical and stupid. But I think he was very skilled in finding it, in condensing it to the fundamental level, and in presenting it. I think he does that very well. That's why I chose this video to react to.
When you shared this video and I watched it, I kept thinking of Arnita Sarkeesian of Gamergate fame saying, everything is racist, everything is sexist, and you have to point it all out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not, I didn't pay attention to Gamergate. Back then I was not politically informed, or I mean, with politically informed, I mean the YouTube political sphere, not the real world one. We are already in the stream for an hour because my bell rang when we started it.
You. Only the
Yeah, we're an hour in it and we have watched 12 minutes of the video. A typical me stream.
leader cares about you. Only the leader can save you from the darkness he alone could show you. Deconstructing reality.
That I disagree with. If there is a genuine grievance around, then people could see it already and they flock to the leader because he is actually speaking it in public and not just behind held hands. So unless we go back to the case of feminist divorced friends, female friends who talk to the happily married woman, hey, look, I see your husband, he is misusing you, he makes you take out the dishes from the dishwasher, he is treating you like a maid, and he expects you to have sex with you. He treats you like a sex worker and he doesn't even pay you for doing it. In this case, this leader was the only one who was aware and made you aware of it. But I think it's in the case of Andrew Tate, or in the case of Trump, or in the case of the AfD, a lot of followers are aware of it and only start looking for these people once they are made aware of it, because before that they are not even aware that now obviously everybody is aware of Trump and AfD, but before that the mainstream media is, and even social media platforms are very good at keeping all these movements out of sight. So only if you actually look for them will you find them. And so you first have to notice the issue before you can find them, at least in their beginnings phase. Now many of these movements are big enough that so many people are aware of it that but yeah, even now, I mean, for example, Steven Crowder's, he was vehemently against red pill, and then his wife divorced him, and now he is pro red pill. So I mean, even now, even if you're aware of something, that doesn't mean you listen to it. Only once you also have the same grievance do you start to listen to it. So I disagree with him here. It's not the leader that makes people aware of it. If there is genuine grievance around, it's the grievance that the people. It's because of the grievance that the people start listening to the leader. So I think he makes up the direction of the arrow here.
And there could be there's legitimate grievance, and the leader could be actually addressing those grievances, and then most of them just, hey, that's a popular opinion. I can just attach that to my position or my campaign or whatever and use it to my advantage.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Everybody
no,
does it.
no, that is not possible. No leader is capable of being competent. Power corrupts, therefore every leader must be evil and malicious and liar. And I would never think of the idea of gaining public recognition because by doing videos in an emotional tone. Or only evil people who want to lie to you do that. All these loops.
Reality in its followers, piece by piece, until the only legitimate source of truth is the leader, and anything that questions the leader or the movement cannot be real, because the leader is the only one who is on your side in this hell he showed you, and without the movement, all of your new enemies will destroy you, and everything you hold dear. And now,
I don't know if he was ever in a group of female friends or in a bureaucracy. Sometimes there is only one person standing up for you. And everybody else is like bullying you because everybody else is bullying you. And then it takes a lot of courage to stand up to the bully. And sometimes it's just one person who is willing to stand up for you. But yeah. He simplifies. Yeah, I hope he does that just to simplify, to make a point, and he doesn't actually believe that this is all of reality. But we never know unless he actually finds the video and responds point by point. I guess good luck finding all those points because we made a lot of points. Not all are equally valid. Equally important. I mean, some are just nuances or beside the point. But yeah.
you are indoctrinated. And to abandon the ideology would mean the collapse of the followers' sense of reality and purpose and meaning. And so, the false reality is defended fiercely against all the evidence that it is a lie. To lose it feels like losing everything. Very typical for the victim.
Here I want to point out, he said, the fascist movement is a lie, whereas the other thing is not a lie, and all the evidence points to the other thing being true. I'm not sure if, let's go to the Antifa case. This is just a small group of people who violently want to protest against society as a whole. So, does he now say society is correct and Antifa is wrong? Because, I'm not sure. But I think he generally here the issue is not which idea is completely correct and which idea is completely wrong, and all evidence points to the other thing. I think the issue here is ideologies are simplifications of reality, so every ideology is wrong. Every ideology, ideology in a very general sense. I think no human is capable of not thinking in ideology. So, I include whatever I believe in. I include whatever any human believes in. So, everything every human believes is not identical with reality, and so it's more like a perspective or a lens on reality. And so and sometimes an ideology or a lens can be very good at covering a lot of things, but and sometimes a lens or an ideology can be very good at identifying one small little issue, and it is very correct in that aspect. It's just you shouldn't apply it to everything else, and I think his video is a great example for that case. I think there exists a fascism in a form that he describes it. It's just that it's one thing among many, and if you just observe that one thing and then assume whenever something looks vaguely similar to it, then it's fascism, then yeah, I'm not sure if I explained that correctly, but or understandably. But I guess you will understand me because we have talked long enough about these issues. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue watching, or else we are again 2 hours on this video.
Of con men, or cult members, or many other forms of radicalization. Pride, honor, strength, patriotism, heritage, identity. There is nothing wrong with any of these. In fact, they are good. But when they are used as a justification to do illegitimate harm to others.
I just heard him say that patriotism is good. So he cannot be a globalist leftist. Because they say, or at least I assumed that when he says patriotism is good, he also, and if he speaks English, I assumed he meant Western patriotism is good. And that's not something which I associate with progressive leftist ideas. But yeah.
They are just more lies. And when the end comes, and it will, it doesn't matter why you committed the crimes. It just matters that you did. Fascism is a machine that promises greatness in exchange for harm, takes power, never delivers, and lies endlessly to hide from you. The lie.
Isn't that the textbook definition of communism? It takes power, promises something that it never fulfills. Like, real communism has never been tried before. Let's elect this new leader. For example, Mamdani is the newest one. He will bring in the utopia of communism, and the evil billionaires are in the way of the poor people. You were great, all your Somalias. You were the ones building Wakanda, and then the Western came and pushed you down. And so now we will take their money and give it to you. And everything turns like, yeah.
Lies are the point. Because the truth would reveal what was there all along. And the truth is, this is fascism.
Yeah. Now it's finished, the video. Manufactured.
So you have it, folks. Everyone from Genghis Khan and Kim Jong-un to Jesus Christ is fascist.
Yeah. Indeed. Now to my comment. I wrote it down below in this video as well, not with this channel, but with my normal Benrex channel. I just here I can better highlight stuff, and I actually, I don't know how much it came through, but I actually appreciate that he defined fascism, because and I think he did it pretty well.
No,
but
you
it
did it
was is
exceptionally well with like that perfectly describes why every time you argue with a leftist, everybody and everything is fascist.
yes. Um, I think he is gave a very clear definition of what modern day leftists view fascism as. I personally prefer the historic definition, uh, but to be honest, here I have no clue what the historic definition is. I just know this one isn't the historic definition. The historic one is a very specific Italian thing. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, let's assume, let's take his assumption that this is fascism here. This here, the things um, which he defined. So it's an ideology, or an ideological mechanism. I'm not sure if it's. I think it's more of a mechanism the way he described it, and less of the ideology itself. But yeah, anyway, it's on the ideological domain. And then it says, "You are great. The greatness was stolen from you. Um, stolen from you by some malicious force. To take back what is rightfully yours, we must remove or destroy the enemy who took it from you. And when they are gone, you finally have your rightful greatness." And then it also has some agent who wants to take this power to do it for you, and so you shouldn't do it yourself. And the thing which is more important is the violence to the enemy and less the creating greatness. But I think this statement here particularly is feels to me like it's a conclusion or an end effect or side effect of it, like a not side effect, a core effect of it, but not the cause. Like I mean, these here are more like the mechanism, and this is the outcome or something. Like, yeah, but I feel I would say this is more a description of the end result, and not the mechanism itself. Yeah. Anyway, let's assume this definition of his, and I will add a few more assumptions. For example, it is possible for a society to be good. Yes. Let's write it down as well. It is possible. Here are my definitions on top of his. Let's make a few more. It is possible for a society to be. Let's create. So let's say great. Let's use his words. And then groups of people are capable of influencing how great a society is. This is another. I mean, theoretically, it could be that no matter which human population is in the society, it doesn't matter at all. It's always great, or it's always bad, or it's always whatever. So theoretically, that's possible, but I think it's a rather intuitive to say it is humans can influence the greatness of a society. And then the next one is greatness doesn't always increase. Yeah, there are certain mathematical functions. Let's use paint again. That's because paint is great. Hello. Paint. What is happening with my screen? The notepad, I will have to quickly close it. Hello, my PC is bugging out. Let's Control R, Control C, close it, and then so okay, now it's good, solved again. There are certain mathematical functions. I forgot how they're called. My friend would know. I don't. I'm not good enough with names and math. But let's take, for example, this red pen. And then here. This function always increases. And then this line, let's make it a different color. Let's make it green. This function also always increases. Or I could also have this here, like a function like this, and this one always increases. Or I could no, or sorry, this I didn't intend to do this function. So, or sometimes I'm not skilled enough in Paint. I haven't used Paint enough yet in my life to be skilled enough to make no errors. This function here also always increases. Like these are all functions that always increase. But here for the here for my next next point. Or here, greatness doesn't always increase. Like, for example, some societies could be, for example, cyclical. So I could, for example, have a society whose greatness looks like this. And this society, the greatness doesn't always increase, as you can imagine. It has phases where it doesn't increase, very stagnant, and then it has phases where it's going down again, and then phases where it goes up, and stuff like this. And so, yeah, here, first definition I added, or first assumption I added is it is possible for a society to be great in the first place, so greatness plays a role. Then group of humans are capable of influencing the greatness, and greatness doesn't always increase. And here theoretically I assume greatness is a single factor, but obviously this is not the case. I mean, I assume a black woman. Not interested. I assume a black woman has a different view on what greatness is than a white man. Or a bank CEO has a different definition of what greatness is than a truck driver or whatever. And so yeah, this is my second assumption. No, my third. Yeah, and then theoretically it could also be the case that groups of people are only capable of influencing the greatness of society in a positive way, and they are never capable of influencing society in a negative way. So that's also theoretically possible, but it's you have to think hard of finding such a concept, such an idea. So let's say groups of humans are even if humans were not capable of influencing society in a negative way, sometimes if they are just capable of influencing society in a less positive way, then this can create a differential which can remove greatness. So even so yeah, so it's a yeah. So it's kind of obvious what I want to go into. Essentially, humans, like all these assumptions are so obvious that it's essentially the conclusion is clear. Sometimes humans, with A, I think, yeah, humans. No, sometimes groups of humans influence society in a bad way. Influence society in a bad way. By the way, this autocomplete, which it wants to do, is Notepad++ is for programming, and it's just all the words I've used so far in this document. So are included in this autocomplete list, just in case anybody's curious. Yeah, so sometimes groups of humans influence society in a bad way. I think that's if you are at least somewhat open to drawing the logical conclusions from these logical assumptions, then yeah, this is obvious. There are at times groups of humans who are capable of influencing society in a bad way, and I think everybody can think of what this group of humans is in their group. So, for example, for Rupert Lowe, the new party that was just founded a few weeks ago in England, the immigrants, especially the Muslim immigrants, are the group of people who influence society in a bad way. For the communists, it's the landlords, and for the Antifa, it's the fascists, and for I don't know, for a rape victim, it's her rapist, or it's just a group of humans which are rapists is influencing society in a bad way. So everybody has, like, it's a logical conclusion, and everybody has an image in their mind when and sometimes people think, yeah, it's the Jews, or it's the Muslims, or it's the Christians, or it's the white people, or it's the men, or it's the women, or whatever. So just if you follow these conclusions, then what you essentially have is the first step of fascism. You recognize reality for what it is. So there is a greatness. So and another thing he says is, yeah, you are great. There are some pessimistic people out there who think they are terrible and everything they do is bad. But I think a lot of ideologies that catch momentum think there is something good to be fought for. For example, yeah, no, I bring that example later. And yeah. Yeah, okay, no, I wanted to bring the example now according to my comment. So let's, based on this, let's take a very specific group of people. Let's call them, for example, anti-fascists, without the H.
Just for example.
What?
Just for example.
Yeah. There is it could be this one, it could be any other example you could think of, but I think this is a very particular, a very good group because it shows something very important. So they say, they believe, or as far as I'm aware of their belief, they think, they believe in the noble savage. Noble savage. They think that if only there were anarchy, then or if only we were to give all the power to the people, then utopia would arise. So power to the people. Utopia. So they think, yeah, the reason, the issue, the problem that stands in the way of utopia is essentially the pre-existing institutions. So there could be different words, for example, patriarchy, oligarchy. What type of words could I add here? Christianity, nationalism, alt-right, whatever. It's a cluster of these ideas. It's just left. Here I just wrote down a few left-wing enemy pictures. So there is a pre-existing institution which prevents, which takes away power from the people, and they are the evil that prevent the people from having greatness. And now let's go back to his thing. Yeah, they stole the greatness from you, the individual, you the whatever, the Antifa member. And then here, to take back what is rightfully yours, we must remove or destroy the enemy who took it from you. So I have never read an anti-fascist handbook, but I'm pretty sure it mentions you have to you have them kick off social media, you have shut down their website, you have cut off their funding, you have to police their organizations at hate speech, you have to be willing to deck someone at a counter protest if it will prevent you greater violence, you have to kill Charlie Kirk because his words are violence, and a lot of things like this. So they want to forcefully remove this these institutions. Now so now I have taken the next step, and now here this is actually a difference between his definition and Antifa, and it is: somebody says, give me power and I will defeat the enemy to take back greatness for you. Antifa does not have a leader, or let's be more, most likely it's the case that it still does have leaders, it just hasn't written them down in an institution that it sends to the government and says, look, I'm the leader of this organization, if they cause damage, sue me. They just have it in a bit more of a nuanced way, like a diffused organization where money flows from somewhere, some group organizes something, and if something happens, then this guy is the guy who organizes it, or who says, look, here you should go there because there it would be useful for our idea. So they still have leaders, it's just not written down in a paper like it's with the Proud Boys or whatever. They just, yeah, I think I once heard Antifa has a pretty interesting history, founding history, but I've never looked at it. So, yeah. And fascism is not about greatness, it is about harming the enemy. I don't think I need to say more here in this case. I have never heard of an anti-fascist building up something great. Yeah. And shows that it is working not by creating greatness, but by showing the violence to the enemy. I also don't think I need to say much about this here. I think the only thing which I could point at where I say anti-fascists create greatness is they're probably presented in certain artist groups, and they have a nice community where they draw pictures and write stories and stuff like this. So I think they can have nice communities where they are accepted and supportive of each other until somebody says the wrong word. But until they do that, I think they can have a nice community. And if you want to define that as greatness, then yeah, I guess so. But I mean, then you can't complain that Trump isn't creating greatness, because Trump rallies are pretty great too in this aspect. So yeah, if you have greatness as such a vague concept. So yeah, as you can see, anti-fascists are textbook definition of his thing, with the only difference that they don't have a publicly known leader that is a single position. But also he never told us why it necessarily has to be a single leader. He just assumed that this is always the case, but he never said why it is always the case. He never said there are other movements that are essentially mob rule, but behave in exactly the same way. He never gave a stance on what his position on this is. So I will just now conflate the two and say Antifa is also fascist. And yeah. Do you disagree, or why did you laugh?
No, I do agree.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, there he could say he could expand on his definition and say why if there is a single leader, then it's fascism, and when there is not a single leader, then he could say, yeah, then everything is great or whatever. He could get nuances there. He just didn't elaborate. So I guess I will wait for a response here. If he is willing to watch
2.5 hour so far.
no, so far 1.5 hours. Yeah, 1.5 hours so far. I don't know. I don't think, in my opinion, leftists are not known for great attention span and in the context of different opinions. But if I would love to see it proven wrong. Yeah. So now I have anti-fascists who behave according to the textbook definition of fascism of his. Now I call his opinion the textbook definition, but I think it deserves it because it's done very well. So now, yeah. What did I say here? If it's yeah, here. Yeah. They often. Yeah, of course, I also wrote here that once patriarchy or oligarchy or whatever is removed, then greatness is restored again. So that's essentially the communist utopia. They think we just have to put in this one leader who does everything right and distributes everything, and then he just stands back, and society automatically turns into greatness. So here, of course, they strive to greatness is restored when enemy is destroyed. Yeah. And something which I had between the definition here, between my definitions or my added assumptions and between the Antifa, I also I said the first step is recognizing reality, the first step to fascism. And the second one is, let's say we recognize there is a group of people who negatively influence society in a bad way. So they remove greatness. Let's just take a group of people, enemy No, let's first finish this thing here, and then I will go back to the thing I actually intend to be in between. Um, yeah, the issue is now I just took the group of anti-fascists who and said that they are fascists according to his definition. And theoretically, it is possible that they could be fascists who just call themselves anti-fascists because they are liar and they want to they are actually fascists. It's just that they lie to and tell, hey, I'm not fascist, I'm the opposite of fascist, and then everybody believes them. That's one way, but I think the core issue is not just that they are fascists themselves. The core aspect is, I think, anti-fascists, even in an idealized state, still disproved his whole idea of of fascism, because let's say let's go with the ideal concept of anti-fascist. Ideally, anti-fascists, anti-fascist, so yeah, it's not a word I write a lot. Yeah, so the idealized anti-fascists, they believe that generally society is good. Society is good. And then a fascist then let's say a grievance shows up that makes that uses yes, so a grievance shows up that reduces greatness to some degree. Then a fascist shows up that uses the grievance to take power. I think that so far I follow precisely his model. And now an idealized anti-fascist, I will now call him IAF, views this fascist as an enemy that is preventing society from being great. I mean, so far I essentially just wrote down whatever he said in the video. And then what should we do now as an anti-fascist? Let's just I will combine everything together. The one which I didn't wrote, which I wanted to have here, and the one which I now. Let's say I now idealized anti-fascist, and I noticed that there is a fascist power out there that threatens society and therefore makes it less great than it could have been or it was before. So what are now my options? And here I wrote them already down. Tekken Dog also added another one before. So let's start with the first one. We could just be denied. We could say, yeah, no, there is no fascist takeover. Society is still just as great as before. You're just delusional for even considering it. So that's an option which we could do. But the fascists are actually around. They actually make society worse. So another thing we could do is say relativize it. So we could say, yeah, greatness doesn't actually exist. It's just subjective, and like you can just say yeah, and it's not as bad. And this other thing exists as well. For example, what is this? This recently I heard this liberal guy make a tweet about Rupert Lowe, pink-haired kids, pink. Is it? Can I find him? Yeah, I can. That's TV. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what my biases are based on what sources I show. So let's quickly check here. This guy. Wait a second.
What a skinhead.
Yeah, this guy here. He said Pakistani grooming gangs are not bad because white people groom children too. That was his statement. So you could, I mean, yeah, and yes, it's literally his statement. He said this. It was a 1 minute video, but the Romanian TV stretched it over half an hour, so he's just as skilled at that as I am. Yeah, he literally said that in almost these words. So you can just relativize it and say, yeah, I know this group causes a lot of rapes, but other people do it too, so it's not as bad when they do it. You shouldn't do anything about it. So you can relativize it. Then another option could be pacifist, being pacifist. You can say, I made with 2S, fist, yeah. You can say, yes, it exists, yes, it is bad, but my moral compass is I never allowed to do anything. Never allowed to do any action that is forceful. Therefore, I won't do anything about it. That's also an option that is out there. So an idealized fascist could say, oh, I see a fascist government rising. I can see how it makes everything bad, but we are not allowed to do anything against it. That's also an option that you can react to. Then where are here, yeah. Then we could I call it imperial. I'm aware it's not quite the correct word, but in my the way I use imperial, it means ideological imperial. Let's call it like this. I could just say I think these fascists, these are bad and they think wrongly, therefore I have to make them think correctly. If I have to, I should send them in camps, re-education camps. I have to brainwash them, whatever the means. I have to change their opinion. And in the end, everybody should think like me, or at least not like them. So that's also an option. And then another option could be, that's the one that Tekken Dog added. We could create a dhimmi status. That's the dhimmi is an Islamic word for Islamic legal word for creating a second-class citizen, one that has less rights, one that has is supposed to feel subdued. So, for example, in the Golden Age in Spain, the dhimmis had to go to the dirtiest corner of a place, and they have to then knee on the grounds in front of the Muslims and give them their taxes, and it was all just to make them feel subdued. Or they were not allowed to wear certain colors. They are not allowed to ride horses, and there are videos out there of imams which say, I know I have it in my head. His voice, like there is a group of Muslims that laugh and say, where Imam says, yeah, and then you see this Christian man ride on a donkey and he has two ill-fitting shoes on, and then what do you think? And then his child will ask, yeah, father, why are you riding on a donkey, and why are you wearing two ill-fitting shoes? And then he says, yeah, I'm just a dhimmi, I'm a Christian, and I'm not like one of these Muslims which are allowed to do what they want to do. And then what do you think will this child do? This will of course turn to Islam. And then they found that very funny in this clip, and then they think that this is a very profound way of convincing other people to convert to Islam, and it works actually, and not for everybody, but it works for on a societal level. It works to convert certain people to Islam, which is pretty obvious. And yeah, but it's of course, I just brought dhimmi status here because I'm not a fan of Islam, so I used their concept. Of course, the apartheid was also a form of two status societies, or the caste system in India, or Israel and Palestine, or yeah, there are various groups where one is causing issues, or one is a different caste or social status, and they are not allowed the same rights. And so that is also an option. And the last one, I call it nationalism. It could be something else. I just choose that word. This is to geographically remove somebody from your place. And here I also include imprisonment. So if somebody is put into a house or in a hole or in a whatever, so he is just geographically removed from your society in a way that they cannot interact with you anymore. And then that is the last of these 6 options. And so let's say you are now an idealized anti-fascist, and you notice that there is a growing movement of fascists, which actually make society worse. These are the 6 options you can do. With here, you don't take any actions, you just let it grow. And here you take action. And if you are not these 3, you have to apply force to implement them. Even China, who has re-education camps for the Uyghurs, they of course need to have violence to put them into these camps where they are re-educated. I guess public school, that like there is a saying, if you send your send your child to Rome for their school, then don't be surprised when he comes back as a Roman. So even public school, I guess public school does re-education without violence, but it's yeah, it's not 100% effective. So if you want to have, if it were 100% effective, then they wouldn't need to make documentaries about incel movements. Yeah, so these 6 need at least some level of force, violent force. So, and these 6 don't need that, but they won't stop the issue. So, let's say you're an idealized fascist, then you have the option of doing nothing about it once you realize the issue, or you do something about it and then you have to use force. And if you use force to restore greatness to your society from by forcefully putting down an evil group, enemy group, then you just turn fascist. So as soon as you are doing something about reality, then you essentially turn fascist. And so therefore the whole definition that Anthony uses collapses in itself. So everybody and anything is a fascist as soon as they take action in any way. I mean, in any way that has an influence on society as a whole. Or yeah, so that's why I think this definition. Yeah, here I wrote in my comment as an introduction. Thanks for giving a clear definition of what you define fascism as. I prefer to use the historic definition because all modern definitions seem so arbitrary to me. And yeah, let's see where it leads to if I apply it. And in my opinion, it leads to circular reasoning, and everything is fascist, even the idealized version of anti-fascists. Yeah, I talked a lot, and I think do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mostly agree. I think it's just you can't do much with the definition when the definition applies to everything.
Yes. A definition that applies to everything applies to nothing. Or so, yeah. And yeah. Do you want to say something?
Nope, continue.
I want to see. Yeah, I would just want to check if I wrote something more. Yeah, because yeah, that's the point I also added this point. So as I showed, everything is fascist according to his definition. So, and this is obviously a bit a stupid definition, so I wanted to refine it in a way. I want to propose an improvement. So I want to have unjustified fascism versus justified. So I assume everybody agrees that there is some inequality in some aspects in society that influences greatness to some degree. I think that's something which everybody can agree with. And so now, but let's just say if I have a serial murderer and I put them into prison, and then I have another serial murderer and I also put him into prison, and then I have another one and I also put him into prison, then I discriminate against a group of humans that and I do so violently, with force. Like I just go there with a group of policemen and I put them into prison, and that's essentially fascism, according to his definition. But I think most people agree that this is justified use of force. But then the picture that that Anthony very dramatically where is my mouse here? Hello. The mouse is being annoying again, or what is? I don't know. Quickly plug it out and in again. This PC is not the best, apparently. So now I'm using my mouse like a sonar. So,
It works.
So I don't see it anymore, but if I press the control key, then I can see where it is. So I use it like a sonar. This Anthony guy, he painted a very vivid. Oh, it's back. He painted a very vivid picture of a fascist regime, and let's say these exist. I would say these exist. So I have and in this case, it's definitely unjustified fascism. Like, you cannot just take some minor grievance and then blow it up and take force and then just punish an enemy without doing anything about the grievance. So this would be unjustified fascism. And so I would say we can essentially have, let's go to paint again. Paint is always great. I'm such a fan of Paint that I want to recreate it for Linux. And here, yeah, when I finally start installing Fedora here or whatever, yeah, here. Let's just say here is what did I say? Grievance. And so grievance and what is the force? So then here low, and then lot. And like this, and like this, and like this. So now I would say here there is a huge grievance and it's very little force needed to address it. And for example, let's say there is a mass murderer going around and killing everybody and you just need one police squad and one action and everything is solved. I would say that's a highly justified fascism. And then here, let's say there is a tiny grievance. Let's say everybody spells my name wrong and I therefore turn into a dictator of Switzerland and force everybody in a month-long concentration camps, just everybody who ever did this issue. That's a highly unjustified form of fascism. And now we have, let's say there is a grievance that is just a small grievance, and it takes a little force to address it. I would say that's mostly justified. Like if you don't really, if you just do a small law change that doesn't really impact anybody and also doesn't have any negative consequences, follow-up consequences a la slippery slope, then I think that's mostly justified. And sometimes we have a huge grievance and you cannot address it unless you put a lot of force into it. And there, here it's let's make it yellow. It's a bit of a this is one of these situations where you have to choose between two evils, where a lot of bad things will happen, but a lot of bad things are already happening. And so it's like, do you choose to live in misery and everybody is suffering? Or do you take up your sword and fight it? And a lot of suffering will happen because of it, but it would have happened anyways. So this is a bit of a gray zone. Let's make it a different yellow that it's more visible. And so I would say this high grievance, high force is this is the thing which we actually have to have conversations about, and we also have to have conversations that once your goal is achieved, that you don't overshoot and turn into another military dictatorship. And so I would say this is my improvement of his proposal. Namely, he said everything is fascist. And I said, yes, everything is fascist, but like he said everything is fascist according to his definition, but he painted it everything in this red light here. And in my opinion, reality is much more complex. And according to his definition, everything is fascism, but sometimes it's actually needed because you have a high grievance and a little force with little impact. And yeah, but I think I'm I'm continuing his thing of looping my statements because yeah. Oh yeah, and as mentioned this during his video, he assumed that fascism always ends up with a single leader that says, like, let me take control of it. I disagree. Sometimes mob rules can also be fascists when they take justice into their own hands. And I also think that sometimes bureaucracies can be fascists. You don't need to have a single leader, you just have a single idea that they promote. And so, yeah, I disagree. Or let's just say, and if he disagrees with my disagreement, then he has to give me a reason why only fascist with one single leader is fascism. I mean, he can just define it that way, but I care more about the underlying idea. Let's just say, okay, let's call fascism with one with one dictator or with one single leader. Let's call that fascism, and let's call a fascism with bureaucracy as a leader. Let's call that fascism, and let's call fascism with a mob rule as their leader. Let's call them fascism or whatever. We can use 3 different words for the three different concepts, but I don't care about that. What I'm interested in is his position on why only one of these is bad, or why one of these is worse than the others, or why only one of these shows up in reality and everything else doesn't show up in reality. So I think this is also another aspect which he has to refine his theory. And yeah, and here, this one I already mentioned in the left versus right axis stream, but in my opinion, just because you're dogmatic, or let's just say it like this, just because you're extreme in one opinion, that doesn't mean you have an ideological blindness. And you can here I wrote it like this. I can say that this is the somebody could take the position that this is the best of many actions, and despite seeing the position of the other side, I think, logically speaking, my approach is better. I can even celebrate it if others try it out in their own way, in their own communities, as long as I'm allowed to create a rule set for my community. If you define, I think that's also a possible way on how you do it. So you can have a very strong opinion, but you can still be in favor of other people trying out other stuff. Or you can also say, if you're in this yellow triangle, yellow square, you can say, I know my approach is very bad. It has a lot of bad consequences, and I have to be very careful that it doesn't derail. But it's still better than what we are in right now because the grievance is so high. So just because you have a radical solution that applies force, that doesn't necessarily cause ideological blindness, which he implied. But yeah, this is all my thoughts on this whole video. I hope it was a worthwhile critique, even if I sometimes made statements about him which are not all are the most charitable ones, but yeah, exactly. That's all my thoughts. Do you have anything to add?
Fascism is from Italy. It was a term, very particular term they used from the word fascili, which meant a bundle of sticks.
Yeah.
The idea being one stick is easily broken. Lots of sticks bundled together, you can't break.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same idea. It's on our dollar. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. We went from the Western world being monarchy to the Western world being democracy and republic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same idea carried out to a different logical conclusion. This fascism, the word fascism being just a boogeyman is just, it's, I don't know, a
Yeah.
distraction or it's just this term they can throw out that's big and scary because of history and World War II, and that they can a label they can attach to someone when that exact term is written on the money that we use in the United States. It's the same as the communist fist and the black power fist and the fingers all clenched together in a fist that they're together and they're not easily broken. It's
Yeah. Like he
the,
says, fascism disguises itself. It
the
all,
symbolism of what would be considered fascism is everywhere.
yeah. So as soon as you have groups of people trying together to achieve a goal, that's essentially fascism.
Yeah, every first Tuesday in November in America, we celebrate fascism when we all get together and go vote.
Yeah. Yes. I guess you now gave a bit of historical insight while I was just assuming his definition and running with it. But yeah, I think he would push back and say, yeah, you're just downplaying it. And I think with your statement, you don't intend to say Italian fascism was a great era to be under. What would you say made...
It's the same as like North Korea. They still consider they are the revolution. They are the change. They're still doing their revolution against the false government of Korea and the evil empire of the United States.
Mhm. So
Yes.
was that the motive behind the Italian fascists? Like just like against what the Allies have? Yeah, I don't care about World War II. Was it?
I'm not sure about their motives and what they.
Hmm.
I know their party was elected to parliament or whatever you want to call it, and then Mussolini's brown shirts were getting violent, and the king brought him in and allowed him to create a government.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Did I understand you correctly? The brown shirts were getting violent, and the king
Sorry,
said the
the
what?
brown shirts were Nazi. The brown
Ah,
shirts were German. The black shirts were Italy.
the black shirts. Okay. So the king saw, oh, there is a violent group. Let's give them political power. Then they are appeased. Did I understand
Yeah,
you
pretty much.
correctly?
He was afraid of civil uprising and civil war, so he
Okay.
gave him position in government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we should do nowadays too. We should learn that lesson when a group of Karens complain about somebody. We should say, okay, I have a great idea. You will now be our PR managers and HR
Mhm.
department, and
We'll
then
put you on the county commissioner board and the school board.
yes, I think that's the correct conclusion to draw from this era of European history. Yeah,
Sounds about right.
good. We reached the conclusion. I guess so. The stream is now probably around 2 hours and 15 minutes roughly. So I think we stretched this quarter-hour video long enough, and
He promised me it was going to be short. This is his short.
yeah, it's better than the 5 hour one we did. Yeah, but no, I shouldn't promise stuff like this. But I have two others lined up that I want to do. This is the teaser. It's both are from him, Majesty of Reason. I really appreciate his insights. I think he's one of the best. Um, I wanted to say atheistic, but he's actually an agnostic, not like most agnostics who claim to be agnostic, but then actually in everything they are atheist. They just until they have to defend the position, then they are certainly agnostic. But this guy is actually an agnostic who defends both positions and thinking there is something to it for both sides. At least the last time I checked. And so I think he's one of the best philosophers on YouTube with that position. And this guy, I found this video, but this we won't watch the whole video because it's 1 hour 20. If we would do that, we would be here for a whole day. I will just go through my comment, and perhaps I will have to prepare some snippets that are relevant from this video. And the other one, also from him, do racist beliefs wrong others? I think we will also not watch the whole video. It's probably a bit smarter. Although we probably have to watch part of it. And here I will defend some forms of racist beliefs. In my opinion, sometimes it is not immoral to be racist in some cases. But I mean it in a very specific way. But yeah, that is the teaser for the next few weeks are these streams, and probably one with Anthony about biology and mutations. But I have to find time to prepare for that one. These ones take less time. Yeah. Anyway, so much for teasers, so much for talking for 3 more minutes, and I say goodbye to the audience of 0 people, and yeah, you can also say goodbye if you want to.
Goodbye, everyone.